Ask Alec.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. Welcome to an episode of Ask Alec. I'm bringing you this one from the beautiful Waikoloa in Hawaii on the Big Island, and this episode is brought to you by 888 Poker. Today's question comes from Sean and everyone at his poker club, who asks, is there ever a situation where you fold aces preflop in a tournament, small blind to big blind, assuming you have no reads or information? Now this is a great question. I actually get this one a lot. It's a great question, not specifically because of this situation with two aces, which is much more of a hypothetical. Of course, this situation has never happened to me in my life. It's never happened to anybody I know. It's probably never going to happen to you. But it's important because you could use it as a metaphor to think about the conceptual ideas of tournament poker. And that's what we're going to do here today. So first, to better understand the situation about two aces, you got to understand the mechanism of tournaments and how that differs from cash games. So I understand the basis for this question, and I think the basis for the question is this. In cash games, every chip you win, every dollar you win, every chip you win, is worth the dollar that it stands for. So if you win $100 in chips, those $100 in chips is actually worth 100 real dollars. So the conversion of chips to dollars is 1-to-1. In a tournament, this isn't true, and that's because if you win 100% of the chips in a tournament, you only win 20% of the prize pool, right? Or whatever first place pays. So you don't win 1-to-1, you win 1-to-5, right? You only win 20% of the actual value of all the chips. So this lends to a difference in tournament strategy versus cash game strategy. And the basic idea is this. In tournaments, if you are getting direct odds to call, let's say you're getting 2-to-1 in a tournament, and your odds of winning the hand are exactly 2-to-1. Well, in a cash game, it would be a break-even call because the odds you're getting is the same as your chances of winning the pot. But in a tournament, that's not true because every chip you gain isn't worth as much as the chips that you have. So if you have a 10,000 chip stack and you buy into a tournament that costs $10,000, you get a 10,000 chip stack. If you double that stack from 10,000 to 20,000, the value of your chips, the value of your stack, doesn't go from 10,000 real dollars to 20,000 real dollars because of the phenomenon that if you win every chip in the tournament, you don't win 100% of the money. So the value of your stack goes from something like 10,000 to maybe 15 or 18,000. And this is leaving aside what you think your ROI is and your ability. I'm just talking strictly from a buy-in standpoint. So it's interesting because it gives credence to the idea that you don't want to gamble unnecessarily because you have a reduced incentive to gamble. So if something is a coin flip, you don't want to take those situations because if you win, you don't actually double your stack in value. You only increase it by 50 or 60%. But the opposite is extreme. If you lose your 10,000 chips, your stack goes from 10,000 to 0. So losing always hurts you more than winning helps you. That's the idea behind tournament poker, and that's some of the strategy. So I understand where the question about should you gamble with two aces comes from, because there's this mentality in tournaments that you never want to gamble. You want to preserve your stack because just having a chip in a chair is worth so much more than doubling up. And busting hurts you more than doubling up helps you. I understand that idea. But there are situations where it is justified to so-called gamble. Now, the idea I like to think about with these two aces is first thing you got to figure out what are your chances of winning. Well, if your opponent can have any two cards, a very simple math calculation says that aces have 85% chance of winning against any two random cards. But even if your opponent has the best hand he could have against aces, like what if he says like 8-7 suited or whatever, you still have 75% chance of winning. So let's say you have something like 80% chance of winning with two aces against your opponent's shoving range in the small blind, right? Your opponent goes all in the small blind, you look down at aces. Let's say you determine your chance of winning the pot's 80%. Well, you could use basic math with the strategy that we just talked about to figure out what are your actual value of your chip stack when you make this call and win versus when you make this call and lose. And to do that is pretty simple. Let's say the value of your stack goes from 10,000 to 15,000 when you win, and it goes from 10,000 to 0 when you lose. Well, if you win 80% of the time, you're going to win 80% of 5,000, which is 4,000. When you lose, you're going to lose 20% of the time, and you're going to lose 10,000. So you're going to lose 20% of 10,000, which is 2,000. So you're winning 4,000 when you win, 2,000 when you lose. You're still profiting 2,000. So it's still a profitable call to justify going all in the first hand of a tournament with aces, even in lieu of the fact that your chip stack may only increase in value by 50% when you win, and it'll decrease in value by 100% when you lose. Now, the increase by 50% is just a rough estimate without going into very specific math with ICM, which is independent chip modules, which is how you base the value of your stack in a tournament. It's just roughly understanding this concept that your chip stack doesn't increase proportionally to the chips that you gain. It increases less. So even in lieu of that, even being conservative, saying your stack only increases 50%, it's still a very clear call with aces the first hand of a tournament. And another way to think about it is, in order to fold aces profitably, you have to say that there's better than an 80% chance that you're going to double your stack in the tournament. And that's just not true. If you look at all the tournaments you play, even the best players, they don't double their stack 80% of the time in a tournament. It just doesn't happen. I mean, 50% of the players bust the first day, and most of those players didn't double their stack in the tournament, they just busted. So if you think that there's a better than 50% chance, 80% chance you're going to double your stack, I challenge you to be a little more humble, a little more realistic. I think that's just a little bit too ambitious, even in the softest tournaments like the main event. I know people like to be very conservative, but if you look at how the mechanisms of tournaments work, there just are, frankly, a lot of spots where you have to gamble. There is a lot of luck involved, and you're going to have to win your all-ins. And certainly winning an all-in with 2 aces is a very reasonable time to win one. So I think the more practical question that you're asking is, well, how much ahead do I need to be in terms of the odds that I'm getting versus the chance I have of winning the pot to justify gambling, right? So like, let's say you're getting 2-1, you need to win the pot 33% of the time to break even. Well, I wouldn't want to have 35% chance of winning to risk, any portion of my stack simply because I'm only winning 2% in equity when I'm winning the pot. You definitely want to have a big layover between the chance you have of winning the pot and the odds that you're getting because of this phenomenon that the chips you gain aren't exactly worth what they represent. So you're going to want to have something like 50% chance of winning the pot if you have 33% equity, because that'll help you guarantee that you're showing a profit by risking those precious chips. So you always want to have a little bit of a cushion, right? If you realize that a call is close to break even, you definitely want to fold and be more cautious. I'm with you on that. But having 2 aces is just too big of an edge to give up in a tournament. So the sweet spot is somewhere in between. Maybe you want to have like a 30% cushion between the chance you have of winning and the odds that you're getting. And that's a good way to approach some tournament strategy to understand when to be conservative and when to go ahead with your hands and play them profitably. So I hope you enjoyed this short video on Ask Alec and tournament poker strategy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. That'll help me grow the channel, put out more awesome content for you guys, and share this video with someone that you think would benefit. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions you'd like featured on Ask Alec, go ahead and head over to alectorelli.com and you can submit your questions to me there. I will pick the best ones and feature them in future videos. As we say in Hawaii, aloha, and I'll see you guys next time on Ask Alec. Thanks for watching.